And Harrigan all prepared and arranged, located Jack Hoyt and Terry Bob. So he was editor, he probably prepared some documents. Go ahead with your turn. He's, to me, it's Ulysses.
Ulysses, am I? Thank you, Master Chong. My talk will be a little different from those of my seniors. It will be a bit more ambitious. And in the course of my talk to you, you'll understand better why. And I'll begin by quoting from one of those anecdotes or quotations or short stories that Grandmaster Chong has been sending to me, and I in turn distribute to you. And it concerns a Dr. William Smith Clark, an American professor who spent 8 months at Hokkaido University in Japan as its founding vice president from 1876 to 1877. He taught his students not only academic subjects, but also lectured them on the Bible as an ethics course, introducing Christian principles to the first entering class of the college. He influenced many students who in turn also influenced the students of the second and other classes after Clark's departure. He was only there for 6 months. And what Dr. Clark said on his departure to those who accompanied him to the railway station or wherever is this. He said, and I quote, "Boys, be ambitious. Be ambitious, not for money or for selfish aggrandizement, not for that evanescent thing which men call fame. Be ambitious for that attainment, all that a man ought to be." And he said these words 150 years ago, nearly. And Grandmaster Chong has only recently distributed this to us. But I'm going to demonstrate and show you how those words are part of what he's been teaching for the past 50 years. And the words I have to say are, of course, addressed to Grandmaster Chong and to my respected seniors, but they're addressed especially to current membership of the University of Michigan Taekwondo Club. Because boys and young ladies, be ambitious. There's no end to what you can accomplish with the teachings that you have received in Taekwondo. And I'll take my own life as an example. My ambition was not to earn money, and I succeeded grandly in that ambition. Rather, my interest from a very, very small age, before I even started going to school, was in cosmology, the origin of the universe, where the universe and we come from. And that had been on my mind all through the 1950s. And it was only given further impetus by the launch of Sputnik. It became a national obsession for young people to get an education in science. And so I was one of those, and I entered the University of Michigan in 1968 in the Department of Astronomy. And for the first 3 semesters, I thought I would be an astronomer until I should have known, that astronomers were not using the tools that I was suited for me. That is, you had to know calculus and integral equations, and I was not cut out for that. And that they were not interested in the approach that interested me. So what I had to do as an undergraduate, this was 1968-69, I turned and had to take courses in every department, not every department, but we had, as you know, distribution requirements if you want to get your bachelor's degree. So I took courses in anthropology, in poli-sci, sociology, and I was looking for a clue, some department that I could go to, but I couldn't find it. In the meantime, I had stumbled upon it. Why? because one graduation requirement is that we take 2 semesters of physical education. Well, my first semester was self-defense, and in that first semester, I learned about something called, well, what we called in those days Korean karate, because nobody knew what Taekwondo was. So in winter of 1969, 50 years ago, I entered the white belt class of Grandmaster Chong, who was then known to us as Mr. Chong. And he started off by having us kneel on the wooden floor of Waterman Gym, of a huge building with a wooden floor, and kneel in meditation, something probably none of us had ever done. Believe me, it's painful when you're 18 to sit seiza, kneeling on a wooden floor. And then 1 minute only was enough, but that wasn't the end of it. Then he would start to talk. And you had to remain sitting in seiza and try not to get out of it. But in that state of pain and focused listening, we heard Master Chong tell us some gems of wisdom. And I recall that every talk would begin with something, a one-liner, some thought, and then that talk would proceed in a circle and come back and end where it began. And that was a novelty to me, because no professor I knew of did that, because the syllabus had you start here, and you had at the end of the semester to end up there. And it was linear. And he was the only one who taught us this circular thinking of the Orient. And the influence he had on me, I came to realize within 1 year, within 2 semesters of taking Taekwondo, not only had I become a dedicated and student of his, if not a competent sparrer, but it changed my direction in life. From the first class up until the very day, up until now, as I speak to you, because it propelled me to leave the university in my junior year to make up my own junior year abroad program. I stuck out my thumb on my 20th birthday and hitchhiked straight to San Francisco with $1,700 in my pocket that I had saved by washing dormitory windows for the University of Michigan. With the $1,700, I flew to Korea, where I stayed as long as I could, which was 2 months. The first 2 weeks were in Seoul with his family, his brother. And then I went down to Busan, where I stayed in a Buddhist monastery, a Zen monastery. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay. But my visa status, which would, again, visa. Master Chong knows about the struggle for visa. I went on to stay 3 years in Asia. I stayed as a Buddhist novice in Busan at Bumasa Monastery. I went on to India and chose not to return to Ann Arbor by April, which was my deadline to return to my professors, but chose to turn south and go to Ceylon, modern-day Sri Lanka, with the intention of becoming a Buddhist monk to answer these questions that Master Chong only had pointed me in the direction of, to seek after the spirit. And he taught us that to seek after the spirit, you must be willing to go anywhere and do anything. And I think there's no better example in this audience than our World Federation Chairman, Jim Wigington, who, as Master Chong was saying, Jim Wigington will go anywhere and do anything. He'll jump out of planes. I'll leave that to Jim to provide you with the details. But it illustrates you must be willing to do more than dig into books in the library. It's the unity of theory and practice that you must incorporate into your life. It's not enough to rush out into the world. You have to have a firm grasp of your principles and a guiding compass where you are going. For me, following my heart took me first to Korea, then to South Asia. Eventually, I returned after 3 years and returned to the University of Michigan Taekwondo Club. And not out of any exceptional ability, certainly not, but out of my determination and dedication did Master Chong award me the first Dan, which is as far as I went in terms of rank. And then I returned to Asia, not before stopping in Pakistan for 5 months to train Salim Jahangir's students there in Taekwondo. And after 7 years, I returned. I won't bore you, ladies and gentlemen, with the details, but 50 years now I have been on this path. And it has taken me, I've returned from Asia in 2009 after spending over 20 years as a survivor. Just as Grandmaster Chong came here to this country knowing very little English, only with his determination to learn, to study and get a master's degree in economics, that changed because of us, that we wouldn't allow him to go back. We insisted that he teach us his art. And in those days, in the 60s, unlike today, Taekwondo had not made its transition to become a martial sport. It was still a martial art. And my seniors here will recall that the process of changing from a martial art to a martial sport took place over years, indeed decades. And although Grandmaster Chong had a leading role to play in that evolution of his art, Taekwondo, to a martial sport, on the other hand, he will be the first to admit that the art aspect of Taekwondo, the aspect of character building and building wisdom and being a compass in life, is equally, if not more important than the sport aspect. And let me, in fact, quote Grandmaster Chong. This is an unpublished article, and it's about Doban, or what translates as a companion in the Tao. And Grandmaster Chong wrote to me, everyone needs trusted companions who can accompany one through life as lifelong friends. In Korean language, there is a term for such friends. They are dobans, literally Tao companions. We must pursue the truths of life by awakening spiritually. This is the ultimate aim of Taekwondo. Today, Olympic sports are pursued for just one purpose: to win. In this single-minded quest to win, however, we forget the greater pursuit of spiritual awakening. I regard this as the purpose of Kangdukwon, our lecture virtual house of Taekwondo. Unquote. I should say, Grandmaster Chong was very fortunate as a junior high school student in Korea in 1953. He was so fortunate that just a short distance from his junior high school, there was a military base where one of the soldiers was none other than Grandmaster Park Chul-hee, the founder of Kangdukwon, who had time after his duties at the base to come to his junior high school to teach Kangdukwon. How lucky was he to be at that junior high school and to be motivated to learn Taekwondo from a real master? Well, how fortunate are we? Because Grandmaster Park Chul-hee's greatest student, Hwa Chong, came to us and came here to teach us. And we stumbled into his course, into his class. Not because we knew what we were going to tell us, take this class, go to his class, but we had no inkling why. And even now, you have no inkling where the teachings that you have received from Grandmaster Chong and from his students will take you. So I wish to end this by saying that my own quest after the spirit, which is what impelled me from the very beginning to leave astronomy and to go to Korea, and ultimately to stand here before you 50 years later has brought me to the threshold of a breakthrough in my field, which is a subject for another talk. I thank you. Sir.
Thank you.